I'm Isabel Velasco, and my forgotten author speech is about Caleb Carr. I'm going to be talking about how Carr took the trauma of an abusive childhood and channeled his anger into writing. One of Carr's characters, Dr. Laszlo Kreisler from The Alienist, said, "Imagine, all around you, people fall into prostrate positions, some of them weeping. Where are you? In an asylum? Perhaps, but you could also be in a church. In the one place, the behavior would be considered mad. In the other, not only sane, but as respectable as any human activity could be." To the world, Caleb Carr is a well-known crime writer. To Carr, his writings are a way to channel his anger and frustration in a positive way. Show of hands, how many of you have felt like an outsider? Me too. Carr's writings have made an impact on feminism and caused discussion on topics that society has trouble confronting, thus making him an outsider among the literary community. First, we'll look at Carr's past and identity as an author. Then, we'll look at how his many works contributed to the awareness of controversial topics in society. Finally, we'll discuss why his works are exposing societal stigma. First, let's look at some of the events in Carr's past that has shaped who he is as an author. Caleb Carr had a traumatic childhood that affected his outlook on life and the literature he writes. He grew up with an abusive father, and in an interview with Dylan Foley, Carr shared, "I was the only one my father singled out for physical abuse. I made sure the abuse was going to end with me." It's always there. For people who have suffered abuse, there is always the danger that you'll fall into the same trap. The neglect Carr and his brothers received at the hands of their father continued with much of the family's time spent in bars, by explaining that they'd throw us in a booth with some cokes and say, "Watch the television." We were always going, "Can we go home now?" It wasn't fun. Carr continued to struggle in life with educational setbacks. The administrators at Friends, a Quaker school in Manhattan Carr attended, marked him on his school record as socially undesirable. This prevented him from going to Harvard. Now that we've taken a look into his past, let's discuss Carr's contributions to many controversial societal topics. Many of the multi-genre novels Carr writes are immersed with crime, history, and military topics. The Alienist, his most famous work, contributes to the topic on feminism. With the strong female character Sarah Howard in The Alienist, Carr challenges society because women are still being brought up to believe that they have to build their bodies and minds towards relationships, and not, and not towards independent existences of their choosing. The Alienist and its sequel, Angel of Darkness, contribute to the topic on mental health. In the Salon interview, Carr shared that in earlier centuries, the mentally ill who were seen as different were institutionalized, punished, or ostracized. His latest work, Society Precedes Credibility, contributes to the topic on terrorism. In a segment for the New York Times, Carr said that America's political leaders' war rally statements offer sad proof that the United States' preoccupation with strengthening its credibility as a great power has now become so obsessive that it obscures the truly vital security interests. Since we now have a better understanding of how Carr's works have contributed to the topics that society refuses to discuss in the public domain, let's look at why Carr could involuntarily be starting an uproar with his controversial ideals. As a previous fiction writer, Carr has adapted his perspective to explain society's flaws. Carr recognizes the growing societal corruption in the US by explaining, in the Foley interview, in 2005, Carr ran for local office as a favor to a friend. He had no desire to win, and didn't. "I learned how bad things are from the ground up," said Carr. "I saw people I knew to be criminals being elected." Carr also takes note of how violence is portrayed in the media. In the Salon interview, Carr says that people are often disturbed enough by serial killers, but the whole notion of female violence, particularly maternal violence, the idea of mothers who kill, really unnerves people. I think you can see it in the way it's reported in the press. Carr takes note on how information technology has also influenced society by explaining that informational technology leads to a society in which each member is increasingly concerned with the satisfaction of his or her own material appetites, and less concerned with the philosophical problems and principles that underline the successful creation and maintenance of a civil society. This was described in an article written for the Salon website. Now that Carr is mostly writing opinion pieces on military topics, he is influencing more people because his audience is changing their perspective as well. All this information contributes to how a successful author in the late 1900s is causing a societal uproar by advocating for the outsiders and shining a light on topics that society needs to acknowledge exists. Overall, Caleb Carr took his upbringing and found writing as a way to channel his conflicting emotions in a positive outlet, although it is exposing societal psychological mistreatment of the people. I challenge you to attempt to gain a better understanding of life by studying history, whether it's your own or someone else's, but by looking at how an outsider became successful. Thank you very much.